wherever you are. Make it Truth Frequency Radio.
Welcome. We are broadcasting live from the mothership. You are tuned in and listening to Starseed Energy Radio with your host Jonah Bolt. Starseed Energy Radio, where you can always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. Starseed Energy Radio goes live in 3, 2, 1.
All right, what's up, Spaceship Earth? Thanks for tuning in. You are now receiving a live transmission from Starseed Radio, where you can always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. Today is Thursday, August 13th, 2015. I am your host, Jonah Bolt, the Arcturian Starseed, and we are broadcasting live from Costa Rica in the capital, San Jose, staring at some beautiful mountains. We have an amazing show lined up for you today. We're going to be joined by a very special guest, Mr. J. Gabriel Cavazos, who's doing some amazing eco-village, new technology development around the world. And we're really going to get into some deep, universal, sacred geometry, living organic material composites, some really exciting, world-breaking, grounding, amazing stuff. We're really happy to have him back on the show. And we're also going to be joined by our very own Ryan Matthew Durnick to do the daily download. But first, we want to start off the show with our daily quotes. And today's daily quote goes like this: being considered crazy by those who are still victims of cultural conditioning is a compliment. That quote is from Jason Hairston. Thank you, Jason. And with that, we're going to start the daily download with our very own Ryan Matthew Durnick from bellwetherpost.com. Good morning, Ryan. How are you today?
I'm very well, Jenna. As you can hear, there's a multitude of children behind me.
Yes, we know that you are babysitting 25 kids, I believe. So if we hear any screams or yells or Superman or Batman in the background, listeners beware.
Exactly.
So what's going on in the Earth today?
Oh, well, in regards to the Perseid meteor shower, it peaked overnight last night into today. So hopefully stargazers were able to see reporting as many as nearly 100 meteors per hour. So anyone that had the fortunate luck to get some pictures out there, it's an annual meteor shower, and it should be starting to wane. In regards to other activity, solar activity, there's a 25% chance of an M-class flare and only a 5% chance of an X-class flare. So right now it's not thoroughly active, but in the next couple of days it should increase in activity as more solar flares come around the far side of the sun and focus more Earth-facing. In regards to other news and Earth changes, there's been a lot of earthquakes. People are worried because over the last about year there's been swarms in Nevada, and we've heard this all over the place. There's going to be the big ones in Pacific Northwest, the Cascadia Fault, the Juan de Fuca, the subduction zone there. There's going to be an earthquake, major earthquake there. Now they're saying Nevada, there's precursor signs to a major event that could happen in Nevada, maybe on the order of magnitude 7 or greater. As of right now, though, there's been a 4.9 magnitude in Hachijo, Jima, Japan, a 5.4, 76 kilometers southwest of Yanakuni, Japan, a 5.6, 59 kilometers northwest of Tyrone, Papua New Guinea, a 5.2, 133 kilometers northeast of Amsterdam Island, France, 5.5, 100 kilometers northeast, another one of Amsterdam Island, France, and a 4.5 near the Kuril Islands.
I also want to mention there was also another sort of earthquake. I'm sure you heard about this in China. A huge explosion rocked the Chinese port city. Martial law was declared. 42 people have been died, over 400 wounded. There was a dangerous materials warehouse that exploded. I'm going to post this article up on starseedradio.com.
Yes.
And the video is just unbelievable. I'm sure you heard about that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, most definitely. In Tianjin, China, massive explosions rocked the port city there. The death toll right now is at 50, and as you said, yes, the hazardous chemicals are at a high level right now, higher than even the Chinese mandate for what is deemed to be safe for humans being in and around those kind of toxic chemicals at that level. So it's a developing situation. People thought it was local authorities equated it to a nuclear blast. Of course, Chinese have their own form of Twitter. They were erasing social media tweets in regards to the blast that occurred. So,
it looks like a nuclear blast. The video, I'm going to post it up. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's wild.
100 miles away, the seismometer is 100 miles away from the blast. Actually, read earthquake seismic waves from it. So that's how intense this blast was. There were a couple thousand cars that were also at the facility that were totally destroyed or burned in the blast as well. And then in other news, a huge truck bomb this morning in Baghdad Market killed 76 people, unfortunately, and it's yet to be known as who the ultimate terrorist group orchestrated that. It potentially could have been, and most likely was, ISIS-backed, which we all know where ISIS is funded from.
Yes,
we have had some politicians. Rand Paul's really the only politician that says we have to stop funding terrorism. He's the only one that blatantly talks about the fact that we are inadvertently funding terrorism. So the Middle East is becoming this maelstrom of turmoil. And in regards to other news, the Iranian official just days ago said that World War III may occur, not because of what you would think, because of Iran, or because of other tensions globally from China or Russia. No, it's going to occur because of terrorism. A terrorist act is going to initiate that. So
I don't doubt that. That's what initiates a lot of these wars, as we see. And that's something really to pay attention to. We see the buildup of Russia and Ukraine. We've been talking about that for a while, Ryan. These are things to be aware of. To be aware is to be alive. And there's also an article that came out. If you saw this, the creepy school rolls out iris scanner for cafeteria entry system, and students complain the technology is invasive and unnecessary. A Virginia Commonwealth University launched a iris scanning system. Now students have to get their eyes scanned just to enter the cafeteria. They get a custom ID number by the scanning, and then it automatically charges their food card. So again, Skynet is live.
No, Skynet is live. And then if you remember from Minority Report, if you will, people out in the audience, and Jonah, Minority Report, when Tom Cruise walks in the facility, the iris scan occurs, and they go, "Hi, how are you doing?" And they know what your likes and dislikes of what you want to consume, and it greets you. And this is just the beginning. Predictive programming is this. They put it out through Hollywood to get the psychology of the masses submitting to this new technology they put out.
And we covered stories a few years ago as well that there are schools in Florida and Texas that now have kids wearing RFID tags, ID tags, so they could track the kids during school to see where they are, see if they're skipping class. I mean, total, those RFID, chips have the horrible signals like cell phone signals that have been shown to cause cancer and other harmful effects to the electromagnetic field of the body. I mean, things like this are happening. Parents, be aware. This is the stuff that really is freaky, and it's happening. And the students themselves are speaking out. So very interesting story, and definitely something to spread.
And we've been following this for quite some time, and there's been a really good, if you go to healthnutnews.com, this female journalist has really compiled a lot of information about this. But there's been it was 4 a couple of weeks ago. Now we're up to 14 alternative medicine doctors that have had mysterious deaths. They supposedly were met by agents indirectly related to the FDA weeks before, some of them. And they'd have mysterious deaths. Like one was found with a gunshot wound to the chest, but then they somehow threw themselves into a river.
That's right. That was in North Carolina, right in my own backyard in Black Mountain where I used to live. And that was a very well-known, natural doctor. Like you said, 14. Also, another announcement that came out at Ryan, I don't know if you heard this, that big toxic spill that happened. We know about that. People don't know about the Four Corners, the big toxic Colorado spill. And now the EPA says that the river water is safe to drink again after a toxic spill.
Yeah, and then
I mean, come on, seriously?
Yeah, and in concurrence with that, going across the Pacific in Japan, they now activated they're activating all the nuclear facilities, and this is even though some of them are in the shadow of volcanoes that are even the geologists locally said these will erupt, and you are not able to withstand a volcanic eruption. But like they said before the 2011 tsunami, earthquake, Fukushima disaster, everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. There's nothing to see here. Just let's do business as usual and keep doing forms of energy, sequestering forms of energy that are very detrimental and threatening to our way of life.
That's right. Another cool article I saw that just came out is Queen Nefertiti. Has the tomb of Tutankhamun's mother been found hiding in plain sight? A amazing revelation that they feel that they found the queen herself and her tomb. They're going to do some new excavations, and the queen's chambers they feel is right next to Tutankhamun's, where he was found with over 5,000 artifacts in his chamber. So that's a really cool article I'll post up. But I also want to mention that the first time ever medical doctor speaks out about reversing cancer, Lyme, and autoimmune disease naturally. This is an amazing article from naturalnews.com. I'm going to post this one up. This is a really great article. Lots of details goes into the homeopathic ways to cure cancer, like turmeric cures cancer. There's many fruits that cure cancer. It's, again, naturally, we want to cure all these ailments and the stuff that's happening.
Well, and supposedly they were using cannabis oil, some of those doctors, and actually some of those doctors...
That's right, CBD. Shout out to CBD.
It does work, people.
That's right, and also the big vaccine... The new vaccine billboard goes viral as Vaccine Truth becomes wildly popular all over California. I don't know if you saw that, but a big campaign has sprung up all over California and across the nation talking about how vaccines are killing people, harmful, filled with mercury. And I'm really happy to see an article like this that people are really waking up. And with that, Ryan, being said, we're going to do the Game of Thrones person of the day. And who do you think should be the Game of Thrones person of the day?
Game of Thrones person of the day, he's an oldie but a goodie. I'm going to have to go with Shinzo Abe because he's the president of Japan and he doesn't really care about the fact that 87% of his own population do not want to reactivate the nuclear reactors because, it's, as I said before, after the 2011 reactor shutdown at Fukushima and many other shutdowns throughout the country of Japan, he gave his word then that they would not go toward nuclear power anymore. And he goes back on his word, and I'm sure he won't be getting reelected.
And what is his name again?
Shinzo Abe.
Shinzo Abe, the Game of Thrones person of the day. We'll post his awesome picture up, I'm sure, with a really cool quote, so everyone knows who he is. Another liar of the elites, which is why he's Game of Thrones person of the day. Ryan Matthew Durnick, thank you so much for the daily download. Check out Ryan's information, all his posts on starseedradio.com, as well as his own site, bellwetherpost.com. Tell the kids we said what's up. Send them lots of light and love, brother. And we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you, Jonah.
Thank you so much. And with that, we're going to jump to our main special guest of the show. Mr. Gabriel Cavazos has been on the show before, but we always love to have him back because he's involved with so much regarding so many things to shape the future for a sustainable planet. And I love having him on the show because he's always sharing really knowledgeable, excellent information. So if you're out there, grab a pen and paper because we're going to be talking about lots of different subjects. With that being said, Jay, Star Brother, how are you? Thanks for coming back on Starseed Radio. How are you today?
I am wonderful, Jonah. So good to be back on with you, man. How are you doing? And how is the wonderful area of Costa Rica? I cannot wait to get back there with you.
I know. It's like your second home. It's beautiful. It's nice and cool here, and air is clean, and, you know, it's pura vida. Pura vida.
It is definitely pura vida, and it's definitely Tico time for me.
Yes. Come on down. We're waiting for you.
How are you doing, man? So it's really great
Excellent.
to be back on your program again, man. And I want to thank you for having me on. And everybody out there listening right now, keep tuning in to Starseed Radio. Jonah is doing amazing things and trying to get the word out to the expansion of consciousness that we're both dedicated to.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for that. And that's our mission. As your life mission, you've been awakened. And if you would, give the listeners a brief background, Jay, on your, history of who you are, where you came from, and how you had your sort of awakening coming from such a massive background in construction and development. And then we'll go into all the amazing projects you're currently doing today. If you would, please.
Basically, in a nutshell, my history and background was in conventional design, construction, land development. And I spent well over 2 decades, close to 30 years, participating in and building some of the most noted projects in the United States and abroad. And it was about close to 10 years ago. I've actually been on a spiritual journey, so to say, my entire life. And about 10 years ago, I began to really start evolving as a conscious individual in my own awareness of our existence here. And it was slowly infiltrating my psyche. And during this time, I was involved with building numerous commercial projects. Most of my background was all done in commercial building of casinos, large box projects, malls, and so forth, all conventionally built. Beautiful projects, beautifully designed, but toxic. And as I began to evolve with my own consciousness and journey in my own spirituality, it started playing havoc with my own ability to continue to be involved in that arena. And of course, you know as well, over the last decade, the whole go green movement, so to say, was beginning back then, and it's actually almost I almost don't even like to use that connotation anymore, because it's kind of become a little bit cliche-ish. It's so true.
I agree.
But it's being used in a really cliche manner that is not what we're doing and what we're about here anymore, because the evolution of where we're going with sustainability is so far ahead of that now. And so I almost find it hard to actually use that connotation. I'm more into the bioenvironmental behavior aspect of where that's leading what we're doing with ARCOTU. But basically, in a nutshell, when I was building the Fontainebleau Casino Hotel in Las Vegas, 57 acres, 970-foot tower, and $5 billion in funding. And one day, Jonah, I walked onto this site, 5,000 plus people working on this site, oodles of trucks, material trucks, equipment trucks, you name it, everywhere was chaos. A big cloud of dust covering everything from the activity going on there. And it just hit me, Jonah. I walked on, I got out of my car to walk into my office, and I just stopped. And I looked at this magnificent building, and I said to myself, I can't do this anymore. It was like instant, Jonah. And I walked in that day and said, I'm done. I can't participate with this kind of expenditure that is continuing to pollute our environment and send out a wrong message on where we are headed as a civilization.
And when you say toxic, Jay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, John.
When you said toxic, I just want to bring up a point so listeners understand. When you built the Fontainebleau, this $5 billion project, toxic meaning the materials used, the wood, the steel, things that really are harmful, some of the sheetrock, things like that, correct? The actual materials, the now knowing what you know now with the knowledge of organic composites and organic materials, the toxicity of these buildings being erected now are just immense, correct? Is that what you're referring to in toxic?
I'm referring not only to the toxic material, but the procedure that is necessary to manufacture it. It's a trickle-down effect. So it's not only the materials, it's the manner that it's manufactured in, it's the manner that it's transported in, it's the manner of destruction of where it's coming from that's depleting our environment. All of the logging that is happening around the world right now is destroying our atmosphere. We need to stop raping our environment of natural resources so that we can give it a moment to replenish itself and get it back to purity. So all of those elements, it's like I could see it all right in front of me, Jonah, all of it. Every bit of what man has been doing to himself since the advent of the agricultural revolution was right in front of me, point blank.
And just like that, many people around the world, Gabe, as you know, are having this spontaneous just awakening realization, whether it's from a word they hear like Starseed, like how I was activated, or just going on the site one day and you're just something inside you just not happy and content with working on your biggest project of your lifetime. It just wasn't it, and just spontaneously just boom, had that awakening. And now you've shifted your energy, your knowledge, your information into building eco, clean, sustainable, renewable developments. And we're going to get into ARCOTU. We're going to take a break here in a little bit. But if you would, Jay, go into a little bit more about how you had always been programmed and thought and taught to do what you did, and how that was mentally to break out of that. How did that affect your family? How did that affect your relationship with your children? How was that part of the awakening?
That was an enormous journey, because during that time, my own personal journey was extremely private for me, and I wasn't really discussing what was actually happening with me during that period of time with anyone, not even with my family too much, because I already, before that day happened, I knew it was coming. I just didn't really know when. And I certainly didn't know how to express to them that I was going to leave behind this enormous career that I had been involved in, and to simply, literally walk away from it.
And Jay, so, I have to ask, how did your wife react walking off a $5 billion project?
Like I'd lost my mind.
I can only imagine.
Like,
I'm sure it's more than that, but I can only imagine.
What is going on here? What is happening with? We need to have a serious talk. My entire family's reaction was that. Are you kidding me? My oldest son, who has always been a part of what we have done as a construction family, thought I just flipped. He said, "Are you kidding me, Dad? You're going to walk away from the biggest project of your life and start building, what did you call this? Eco-sustainable what?"
I can only imagine, right? What's an eco? What? Eco what?
He's going like, "Are you kidding me? And where are you going to do this?" I'm going like,
everywhere.
Anywhere and everywhere
That's
that
it.
anyone will let me do it, I'm going to do it, because I know it's what I'm supposed to do.
Right
okay,
on.
Dad, whatever you say, I hope it works out, but I think you've gone crazy and we need to admit you.
I believe it. And with that being said, Jay, you held your ground. You held your vision because something inside you told you what?
Told me that I was on a very sacred path. And this is part of what I equate to what's going on with the continued advancement of technologies, because we need to be able to bring the human element back into the continued development of our technologies for the future. That is the one thing that divides standard commercial development technology with conscious development of technology. You're smack dab in the middle of it. You and I are doing things as well together. Jonah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We need to we need to live the flower of life.
Oh. And this goes back, Jay, what you're talking about with the flower of life, this goes back to ancient times, ancient civilizations, ancient Egypt, ancient cultures that understood what you and I are doing today, but the entire culture understood that because they lived in resonance and harmony, and they resonated together, which we're going to get into to resonate a little after towards the end of the show. But they had that tribal resonance with each other, and that is what you're doing by these eco-development projects and these living organic composites and these new structures of life that are being erected, just like the pyramids, which are built to invoke the energy fields of the planet. They are aligned to the star systems, specific ones, the Pleiades, Andromedes, Arcturus. They're aligned to that to absorb the energetic energy fields of these star systems for a reason, because that energy, that consciousness is what we all are connected to together. So the work you're doing now is bringing back the ancient teachings and knowledge of the greatest civilizations ever on this planet.
Absolutely. And it's spreading like wildfire. We are smack dab in the middle of an additional and new conversion of mentality. which I like to refer to as the superconscious man. Now, we have been living in the contemporary man era where we are expending mostly left brain mentality to our actions. And so we need to continue to evolve and move forward to what I like to refer to as whole brain, and bring that intuitive nature of our right brain thinking back into balance. Yin yang, as above, so below. All of that is real and so vital to the future of how we think and administrate our actions to the future of sustainability.
And just to back up what you said factually, Jay, we now see, and science has shown this, and people check this information out. As I always say, it's a self-empowerment show. We're explaining and downloading you with the information that we have resonated to be truth. I always urge the listeners to look this information up yourself. But some of the children that are being born now on this planet are being born with their left and right hemispheres already synced together. And that is showing that the evolution of consciousness and the human race is upon us. It is here. The crystalline, the rainbow children, what I'm referring to, the indigos, being born already synced together with the veil totally gone. And that's what's happening. And the information you're bringing in through your buildings and what's happening with ARCOTU is just unbelievable and amazing. And we're going to take a quick commercial break, Jay, here in a few seconds. So hang on right there, listeners. When we get back, Jay, I want to get into ARCOTU, Charles Gilchrist, who's an amazing sacred geometry person who you're working with. You have a whole team of just amazing individuals, and what ARCOTU is, the architecture of the universe, sacred geometry, and then we're going to end the show on Resonate and an amazing event coming up. So hang on right there. We're talking to J. Gabriel Cavazos from ARCOTU. We'll be right back after these messages.
Evolved in the confidence eventually. Now I rip stages, bust down the microphone, study with the sages, dust down the microphone, channeling the greatest, speak through the mouthpiece. Little red bone fire starter from the southeast. Run with the warriors, armors on my chest plate. Meet you with the battle horns, blaring at the west gate. No time for dead weight. I'm moving vertical.
Have you ever noticed that even though America spends twice as much as the rest of the world on doctors and medicine, we're still some of the sickest people on the planet? If you think the medical community has failed us and that there must be a better way, then you'll want to tune in for the Your DIY Health radio program here on Truth Frequency Radio. The host, Sergeant Jim Ram, retired, was facing a laundry list of chronic health conditions that his physician was telling him were incurable. He became a student of true medical nutrition and learned how he could reverse every one of his ailments with science-based, clinically verified medical nutrition. In just a few months, he was able to reverse high blood pressure, gastric reflux, sleep apnea, arthritis, degenerative disc disease, heart arrhythmia, and AFib, and many more. He wants to help you do the same. Tune in to Your DIY Health on Truth Frequency Radio every Thursday from 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern. That's 6 to 8 a.m. Pacific.
Some 2,000 firefighters are struggling with tinder-dry conditions to battle a huge wildfire burning through rugged hills about 100 miles north of San Francisco. The 2-week-old Jerusalem fires blackened more than 32 square miles and forced about 150 people from their homes. Officials at Yellowstone National Park say preliminary autopsy results confirm a hiker whose body was found last week was killed by a bear. Results of an autopsy rule out the possibility the 63-year-old victim had suffered some sort of medical issue before encountering that bear. Authorities in West Texas are investigating the death of a 17-month-old who died after being left in a hot car during triple-digit temperatures. The child's mother says she had dropped her husband off at work, drove home, and she and 2 other children went inside, but she forgot the toddler. Child Services has taken her other 2 children into custody. This is SRN News. Authorities say the subject of a 2-week manhunt in the high desert of Kern County, California, was released from jail last year due to a lack of bed space. A sheriff tells a TV station that Benjamin Ashley was released in October because of federal orders that set a limit on inmates at the local jail. Officials have offered $10,000 reward in the search for Ashley, who they believe killed a retiree, took 3 people hostage, and wounded deputies. The number of Americans applying for unemployment ticked up to 247,000 last week, but the monthly rate remains at an all-time low. Retail sales edged up 0.6% last month as Americans bought more cars, restaurant meals, and building supplies. China trying to ease fears of a currency war after it devalued the yuan for a third straight day. A spokesman for the central bank says the yuan is now close to market levels. Wall Street is reacting cautiously. More details at srnnews.com. From Washington, I'm Wally Hines.
Enemy Within Radio with Tom Barnes. Saturday on Truth Frequency Radio.
Off the moon and back.
Will you watch the world burn from your jet? Or plant a tree on your spaceship? We'll never find another home, but we can feel the wind blow. Will you watch the world burn from your jet? Or plant a tree on your spaceship? We'll never find another home, but we can feel the wind blow. Music on the radio.
All right, welcome back to the show. You're listening to Starseed Radio. Will you plant a tree on your spaceship, on Spaceship Earth? That's what we're doing across the world in this global awakening and consciousness. If you haven't tuned in to StarseedRadio.com, please do check out StarseedRadio.com for the latest news and updates. We're always posting up articles to stay informed, stay aware. And if you haven't called our toll-free number, please do toll-free 888-400-2328. For your free piece of Elite Shungite, we're still giving away Shungite for free while supplies last. It's an amazing quantum healing stone. Just talked to some people in Australia yesterday. We're sending some too. I mean, we're getting this stone out all over the world. So call anytime, 24/7. If someone doesn't pick up, leave your information, name and number, and we will get back to you. Again, that toll-free number is 888-400-2328. We're joined by a very special guest who is shaping the world for a sustainable future. He's been on the show before, and we love having him back on because of what he's involved with, what he stands for, and who he's working with. And we're talking about his new company that he's formed after his awakening called ARCOTU. It's a biological studies in the environment and behavior of qualitative frequency, also known as BG3. BioGeometry science is designed, engineered to the infinite truth of sacred geometry, the architecture of the universe. Thank you, Jay, for joining us on the show again. And if you would, talk to us about how ARCOTU came to be and your amazing relationship with Charles Gilchrist and your whole team of just stellar people you're working with.
Wonderful. Jonah, I want to thank you. The description that you just stated is so on point. Thank you. Unbelievable, because it is. We are talking about absolute truth. That is what sacred geometry is. That is what biogeometry is. And the two of them, when you put the two together, you've got ARCOTU. So ARCOTU is an acronym for Architecture of the Universe. And that is what we are trying to do. We are trying to seek life, human anatomy, and all of life anatomy with and where we live, work, and play and help in our environment. You asked the question how ARCOTU came about. So hopefully a short story will give people inspiration as to what can actually happen when you make a decision to simply take action. And when I decided to walk away from conventional construction, that wasn't only a personal hardship to do. It was an incredibly, very hard break away from standardized business because Cavcon Industries was a union organization. I had to fight, literally fight, with Local 687 of Detroit to secede from the union. They literally tried to keep me from walking away from conventional construction. That was an ordeal in itself, to simply secede and divide myself from conventional construction in general. It was a fight that took 2 or 3 years to totally complete and be disconnected from. And that is the mentality that we live in. If you ask what that mentality is of breaking away from conventional orientation, this is a perfect example of making decision and sticking with it, because it was an ordeal to break away from.
So ARCOTU flowered from just your gut instinct, if you will, of how to bring from your skills, your mindset, your history, how to bring your awareness through architecture, through biodiversity, through bringing all of this knowledge into one umbrella, and then bringing some of the greatest minds like Charles Gilchrist into your team to help you and work with you to shape these new designs, these new awareness, this new consciousness that you were being downloaded with. And what sprung from that is some amazing biodesign, engineering and different projects you're working on now. If you would talk a little bit about some of your projects, like the one in Asheville, the Synchronicity Center. What is that? Tell people what will come from that. What can people expect to see? What type of new environment is this going to set a precedence for around the world?
Well, that is a really seriously important project for the future of ARCOTU, and hopefully for our contribution to the future of sustainability, because it's allowing us, one, to work in the bioenvironmental behavior. And I'm going to bring that word up, behavior, as a really key connotation to what's happening here. Because what I'm trying to do is align the human anatomy with biostructure. And so if we take a look at that, my mindset is, how do we design in the form of sacred geometry with the principles of biogeometry and truly sync that with life, human anatomy, animals, the all of life? Well, I've done some extensive studies for years now, not only in sacred geometry with Charles Gilchrist. I work with Charles every single day. Unbelievable amount of hours every day under his tutelage of learning as much and more about sacred geometry and the truth of sacred geometry and how that plays its part in every aspect of our existence. I feel so fortunate and grateful that the powers to be brought Charles and I together almost 5 years ago, and we have been in constant study and communication every single day since. And that is what's allowed me to move into the area that I am. I'm so thankful to Charles for his mentorship and his guidance and having allowed me to be that type of student with him. And then when the idea of ARCOTU started coming about, Charles and I started talking about how can we brand what we're trying to do in form. And that's when we started talking about the logo of ARCOTU. The logo of ARCOTU was something that Charles and I spoke a lot about, and Charles started designing the logo. The logo is designed by Charles Gilchrist. And what he tried to interpret was all the possibilities of space-time form. And he did it. This logo is profound, and it represents the entirety of possibility that exists within the truth of sacred geometry. And that's what spawned the foundation of the guiding force of how we operate with ARCOTU and our commitment to the purity of sustainability, starting from the core of that logo, which is the Vestica Pisces. And it represents exactly where we're at today, because we have moved into the new era of the sacred feminine. And the Vestica Pisces is the womb of the universe. So that's where ARCOTU came from, and that's what set the precedent for how we move forward now. And it has led me into this deep study of the human anatomy and my relationship with Synchronicity Wellness, Dr. Stickler and Dr. Micah Hamilton, and also with Senesco Health International, with Hector Romero, and what they are doing, what these individuals have graciously aligning themselves with me to continue to find and discover more information about the human anatomy and how it relates to structure. So when I look at designing something of this nature, I view it as a human cell. And that's where behavior comes in, because our human cells are dictated by environmental signal, which you well know, Jonah, because you're in the middle of it too. And everything that happens through sound frequency and vibration and environmental signal. That's where we're at with it.
And I'm on your website now, and so the listeners know it's ARCOTU, ARCATU.com, and I'm just staring at this logo and just multi-dimensional. You could see all the different just pieces to it, and really the sacred geometry, when you mention that, a lot of listeners may not know what that is. Sacred geometry, from what I understand, my understanding is patterns, is shapes that invoke the natural laws of physics and electromagnetic fields and energy, and by having these patterns etched on the walls of the Great Pyramids or the Mayan temples or the Hopi or any indigenous tribe around the planet, you will find sacred geometry that they also understood invoked the law of energy and invoked the law of the biofield of the planet and harmonizing the biofield of the planet. And that's what you're doing with the designing of these new buildings, the shape of it, the organic composites. Talk a little bit about the actual materials, Jay, that you're using for these new projects you have that are actually living organic materials that also respond to electromagnetic frequencies. What does that mean?
Well, we over the past few years, I've been fortunate enough to also have another strategic partnership with True North Composites, and who had been developing a formula that is basalt-based composite material, which I can't really disclose what the entire formula is, of course, because it's proprietary. But we've done that, and we've already made structures that are already completely organic composite basalt-based formula. And this basalt base is capable of replacing structural steel, wood, and concrete. So as you well know, wood is not toxic, but to get it to the construction site is very toxic. Plus, it is depleting our environment of its natural resources at an alarming rate. So that is one of the reasons why I'm dedicated to continue to formulate and develop these replacement materials so that we can in turn do our best to help Mother Nature replenish itself back to purity. And certainly the organic composite that we're working with can do that. So with respect to what we're doing with that right now, no one even understands or even know. There is no guideline to what we have developed. When I went to North Carolina, I went to city planning there in the Asheville area, and I showed them our architectural drawings for the Synchronicity Wellness Project. They were flabbergasted. They looked at me like,
I can only imagine.
They go,
right?
We don't even know what this is, and we don't even know where to start to begin to approve this. Do you have stress testing on this composite? And of course we do. So I have to go through this really lengthy process of not only getting it approved, but I have to educate. I have to literally educate the building industry about what this new orientation is all about, because it's never been done. Which is another thing that leads me to what we're doing with respect to Project ARCOTU. There's two aspects to ARCOTU. ARCOTU, the Bioenvironmental Design Engineering Division, and then there's Project ARCOTU, the purpose, which is what you just said a minute ago, Jonah. Why are we doing this? What is the purpose of building beautiful facilities all over the world? Well, the end destination is to feel that with educational modalities, healing modalities, on and on and on, so that we can continue to expand the consciousness to the entire world. That is the purpose.
And if I may add, you are building the new re-education healing centers for the new Renaissance age that is now happening on the planet. That is the key to re-empowering humanity, re-educating humanity, and bringing back old information that's just been hidden and lost and destroyed. What we're talking about and doing was common knowledge thousands of years ago. And now through technology and innovation and design and these awakenings, we are bringing back, and you are building the old civilizations of ancient knowledge and bringing back that harmony and balance of the planet. Because once people are re-educated and understand who they are and where we come from and how things all work together and we're all connected, that will change and lift the consciousness of the entire planet, the 100th monkey effect, if you will, which is what we're all going for collectively. And you're doing it through your building and your design. And you're in one of the hardest hit cities in the country. I want to bring up Detroit for a minute, Jay, where I was just with you a few months ago. And I started, a couple of us, the Project Free Detroit campaign, where we went to Detroit to introduce just the concept of free energy, what that is, and showed people if you take a magnet and wrap a copper wire around it and touch a light bulb, it lights up. There's energy out there we weren't taught in school, Jay. Kinetic energy, 0-point energy, quantum energy. I mean, there's all different types of energy, but they limit us with the knowledge. They limit us with the information, and that is what's so important about what you're doing and what we're doing and I'm doing, and is bringing the old information and teaching people that, hey, there's energy everywhere, just like Nikola Tesla discovered. And he discovered you can pull it right out of the quantum field. And remember, I sent you the document. One of the first free energy quantum generators that was built was in the great city of Detroit, the Hendershot generator in 18 it was. And that was on the front page of the newspapers all over the USA saying the first fuelless generator is here. But very shortly after, the military got a hold of Mr. Hendershot and did some testing, and he was found dead not too long later by an apparent suicide. So this information and technology, again, is old information and technology that we are now bringing back into the awareness and consciousness of the planet through your design, through bioengineering, through free energy projects, and really just bringing back the foundation of what this world needs to sustain itself. It's unbelievable. What are some future projects, Jay, that you're working on, and some future projects that you see happening around the world?
Well, we have 4 projects currently in and around the Asheville area in North Carolina. We have another project in Missouri, one developing in California, an island in Panama, Isla Brava, 4 locations in Costa Rica where you are right now, which hopefully I'll be there with you very soon.
Yes, come on down.
And we also have another island, Sino Magdalena in Chile, and we're continuing to join forces with organizations like Unified.org. Adel Kassam and I have made effective agreements to move forward together with many of their properties and do some great things in conjunction with them as well, which I'm hoping that you're going to continue to be a part of as well. And I do want to tell everyone that when you were here last year in Detroit, this was an amazing thing that Jonah did. Jonah went across the entire nation relentlessly. I think you hit over 50 locations.
So 26 states in 5 weeks, Jay.
It was unbelievable. This is the kind of effort that individuals like Jonah, myself, Charles, Michael Rice, the list just goes on and on and on. Because when you are awakened, there is no turning back. And that is what we are in a decade of the expansion of consciousness. This is what part of the cliche orientation of go green means to me, because many of the places that I've had the fortune and opportunity to go and visit that are, quote, sustainable developments, the reason many of them at this point in time are not being successful is they are catering to a need that is not well known enough. The masses of people around the globe are still not consciously educated enough to simply say, okay, we're going to do what Gabriel Cavazos did or Jonah Bolt did instantly. The world's not ready for that. And we have a transitional period that for those of us who are involved with this in a collaborative manner, that we need to continue to educate the world so they can get into a position where they can be prepared one day to say, okay, I'm going to take action. I am no longer going to do this, and I am now going to do this. So that's what ARCOTU is dedicated to for this next decade. We're dedicated to creating tangible resources for the experience and education of the future of sustainability and conscious expansion. That's what we got to do first, Jonah. We have to give people what it is that we know and what we are continuing to discover. And that's what it is. Let's think about this for a minute. We're not inventing anything. We're just simply continuing to discover what's already here and has already and always been here.
And this goes into my next question, Jay, and this is, we have about a 5-minute segment left. I want to bring up the word resonate. We have a festival coming up. We have Liz Cox coming on, who really connected us to a lot of people. She's a powerhouse herself. What does the word resonate mean to you? And then let's talk about the actual event that you're involved with Charles, and we'll go into some details of that. But resonate, what is resonate? What does that word mean to you?
Resonate means to me the ability to open your mind to the connection of life force, the creation of life, the frequency, the vibration, the fact that sacred geometry teaches single-pointedness and at the same time duality and on is what resonance is, our ability to tap in to the source of life.
Now, this festival that's happening, Resonate, talk a little bit about what people can expect there and why transformational festivals and events like this are so important. Now, we see hundreds, if not thousands around the world. Shout out to all the burners out there. Burning Man, the largest collection of creative artwork on the planet. 60,000 people coming together in the raw desert and leaving not one trace. One of the 10 principles that we live by, leave no trace behind. Why are these transformational festivals so important, Jay? And what can people expect to see at Resonate, a festival like that?
Resonate is a very unique festival because it is centered in the downtown area of Asheville. And if any of you have had the fortunate opportunity to visit Asheville is a vortex location in America. Unbelievably power. I don't need to explain this to you, Jonah. You live there. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I have felt that energy, absolutely.
And you have to literally go to this city to experience what it is that we're talking about, because the energies of life, the vortex energies that Sim Harriman talks about all the time, you can literally feel when you're in the presence in that city. That's the wonderful thing, first of all, about what Liz Cox has done in generating. This is, I believe, is her third year for the Resonate Nashville Festival. This is the third year of actually making sure that she's geographically making it happen in that vortex area. Secondly, what I love about what she's doing is she is bridging this conversion because she is utilizing our existing environment of conventional living and promoting conscious living by doing that. The premise that you just said, leave no one behind. So it's not what we're trying to do in simply saying, okay, we're not going to exist in this conventional world anymore. We're not going to pay any more attention to it, and we're going to live in this ethereal world now and pay no attention to what exists in that world. That's not the key. The key is for us to influence that world. Because that's where I came from. I'm so thankful that I had the opportunity to get the kind of experience that I've gotten from that conventional world, because it is what has allowed me to become who I am. And now everyone that I work with in that world is reaching out to me saying, wow, tell me more about this. It's only when we can begin to continue to build that bridge that we're really going to reach the masses. And that is what Resonate is doing. That is a wonderful work that Liz Cox does every single day, connecting individuals together and creating an event that is a tangible event that you can experience what it is we're talking about. So you're going to get information. You're going to get information on consciousness. You're going to get information on eco-sustainability. You're going to get information on the new paradigm coming forth with health and wellness, on and on and on. And this is also another area that's so important to me in Project ARCOTU, and that is this: creating a future of free energy, free food, and free sacred economics, so that anyone can participate and live in this element.
And just so the listeners know, I want you to go and Google vortexes in Asheville. You could see on maps the energy fields that are around Asheville. This is a real thing. I mean, science can show you this. There's spikes of energy. The Blue Mountain, the Blue Ridge Mountains, the oldest mountain range on the planet. You have Grandfather Mountain, 1.2 billion year old mountain, used to be over 55,000 feet high. It's now just barely 7,000 from erosion over the millennia. I mean, it's just a very, very powerful, powerful area. And just so people know, when we talk about these transformational festivals in Burning Man, the 10 principles that I live by as a burner is radical inclusion. Anyone may be part of Burning Man or these festivals. Gifting. Burning Man is devoted to acts of gift giving. There's no money or credit cards accepted at Burning Man, but you're always fed and clothed. Decommodification. Radical self-reliance. Radical self-expression. Communal effort. Civic responsibility. And leaving no trace. If we could all embed those principles in our head, you would see, and you're going to see, how we are shaping the world. Jay, give out some information of your website and where people can find out more about ARCOTU and how they can get involved with what you're doing.
Great. You can go to ARCOTU.com, and you can see our main website there. I'm also launching a new website today dedicated to the new sacred economic system that we are implementing into what we're doing with ARCOTU, and that website is newsacredeconomy.com. Learn about how we are developing people-to-people economics, which is exactly what Jonah was just explaining with regards to the involvement with going to Burning Man. So all of these different things, you can reach me there. You can find me on Facebook. And, of course, you can find me through the resources at Starseed Radio. Thank you so much, Jonah, for having me on.
Thank you, Jay, and thank you all listeners out there for being the bearers of light. We'll be with you tomorrow. You're listening to Starseed Radio. Space Odyssey, look into the anomalies, and you will find suppression of free.
Truth Frequency Radio is your #1 source for news and information without the hate, hype, and fear. We are proud to bring you cutting-edge programs like The Liam Chef Show, The Rundown Live with Mike and Kristen, Real Politics with Professor James Tracy, Your DIY Health with Jim Ram, Revolutionary Radio with Rob Skibba, Truth Stream Media with Aaron and Melissa Dykes, The Covert Report with Susan Lindauer, and dozens more. Did you know you can listen from any computer, mobile device, or from any telephone by dialing 832-225-5308 or call into your favorite show toll-free at 866-37-TRUTH. Uncensored talk and news you won't hear in the mainstream media 24 hours a day. Truth Frequency Radio. Wherever you are, make it TFR. Truth Frequency Radio.
With SRN News, I'm Wally.